Join us on a captivating journey as we explore the charm, history, and vibrant culture of Wilkes County. Discover the hidden gems, inspiring stories, and remarkable people that make Wilkes a place worth knowing and celebrating. Join us now and experience the unique essence of Life in Wilkes.
Every now and then, something happens that's unexpected. Last year, I was at the smokehouse, in line, like everybody does, to get my seat for lunch. And my phone rings, and I look down, and it was Rufus Edmisten. And I said, oh, he might need something. Let me check on it. So I stepped out of line, and I said, hey, Rufus, how you doing? He says, Carl, hey, can you give me directions to the studio? And I was like, well, sure, when you come into town. He said, in about 15 minutes. So I'm like, I'm processing this in my mind quickly. I said, I'm not going to have time to eat before then. And I looked to my left, and those of you who have been to the smokehouse, you know there's a big ice cream counter there. And I said, Rufus, you like ice cream? He says, Carl, I love ice cream. And I think he liked butter pecan, if I remember right. And I got the coconut. I said, okay, I'll meet you back at the studio. And that's exactly what happened. By the time I got the ice cream, got back to the studio, then Rufus was pulling up as well. We talked in the parking lot, and I said, hey, since we're going to catch up, we're just going to sit and chat for a while, and we want to do it on camera? And he says, sure, why not? So he gets in, we go back to the studio, ice cream in hands. That morning, I'd had a visit from Armit TV Paul, and he brought those wonderful Saturn Peaches to us. Oh my gosh, they were good. So what you're about to see now is when Rufus and I sat down, enjoyed some ice cream, Saturn Peaches, and just had a wonderful conversation. Hope you enjoy. I always look for this one, or there are a couple others I like, but this morning was real special. We had in the studio Armit TV Paul. So Brushy Mountain farmer that his family has been growing peach trees and apple trees for a very long time, over 100 years. And he was in, and he brought these. I cut one there for you, so you'd give it a try. I mean, this is fresh. These are you don't have to eat the seed. You can eat unless you want to. I don't. No, I don't know if you're supposed to eat those. Just eat the ones that don't have the seed.
How many times did your grandpa or your uncle say, you'll grow a peach tree if you swallow that seed, or watermelon?
Oh, sure.
Well, now, these are called donut, I'm told.
Yeah, it's a Saturn Peach is the proper name for it, but it's commonly called a donut peach around here. And why it's so incredibly special is, and these have just started ripened on the tree, and they don't hold up great for shipping, so they're not in the mass market. So you basically have to be close by. See, that's somebody calling you right now.
Oh, and that can just go off.
It just can go over to the other place.
We can just wait about that.
Well, we hadn't
That's
planned.
not important right now.
We hadn't planned this, so
No, that's not important.
No, that's right.
What a great flavor.
Yeah, isn't that good?
Magnificent.
Ken Welburn stopped by early to say hi, and we were chatting, and he absolutely loves these. And he called me a few weeks ago and said, when are those donut peaches going to be in? I said, I don't know. I'm going to call Armit TV Paul and find out, because he raises them. I think other people do as well, but I think he's got the biggest heart.
I expected one that would be real tough.
Yes.
No flavor.
Right.
Fantastic.
And special, isn't it?
Very.
So that's the thing about it is they ripe on the tree, and they have a short life, so they don't hold up well for shipping, as I was saying. So that's why you don't see them in the big chains, because
I've never seen one before in my life.
Yeah, really. So this is the first introduction?
Yes.
Oh, well, see, I was able to show you something. That was you were always telling me things that I didn't know, and there I get to share one with you. Where's that place that you like for us to eat in Raleigh?
Farmer's Market restaurant.
Yes, that's right. You know, that was the first time I was there.
Cat head biscuits.
Yeah.
That size.
Yeah.
I was there yesterday morning.
Right.
And had one of the biscuits, and they have molasses at your table.
Right.
To use on the biscuits.
I remember that.
And they've got the Jim Graham special there, which is a biscuit with bologna, a slice of onion, and a tomato.
Now, is the onion sautéed, or is it just raw?
Just raw.
Okay, but the bologna's fried.
Bologna sliced, yes.
And fried?
And fried with the corners cut.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Try frying a bologna and see what happens to it.
Curls up. That's
Curls
right.
up.
That's right.
And you got a cupcake. You got to slice the edges.
That's right.
All bologna people will tell you.
Now was it? Here's the thing that I always hear about bologna sandwich eaters is some people just like it lightly fried, but a lot of people like it crispy. They want to see some brown on it because they need that flavor.
No, I don't.
You don't?
I just want mine lightly heated.
Right. Okay. And onion and tomato.
Well, that's the Commissioner Jim Graham special.
Right.
I like mine with mayo.
Duke's
mayo.
That
yes.
would be. That's probably. Is that how you do your tomato sandwiches?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I got a first tomato, my own tomato.
Oh.
And this sounds hokey, Carl.
Yeah.
But the tomato is named a Rufus tomato by a grower,
right.
Mr. Craig Houllier, who is probably the nation's greatest expert on tomatoes. He's a former professor at NC State.
Wow.
And it's called the Rufus, and it's a beautiful red thing. And
what does it look
good
like?
flavor.
Is it like
a red tomato?
I know, but is it like an heirloom? Is it like a?
It's not really, unless you call me an heirloom.
Well, as the vintage advances,
the vintage is only about 2 years old.
Okay, so we're
trying now. We're trying harder.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, that's pretty exciting. So do you have seeds? Obviously, you grew it, so you must...
Grew from seeds that he presented me.
Right.
And I have another one that brought a fruit in this morning, Park's Whopper.
Oh, sure.
I'm
Parks.
sure that all the folks
that
your friends and neighbors know Park's Seed Company, the best tomatoes. And it's funny that Better Boy, Better Girl, all those things they were really hot about 25 or 30 years ago, and they're now coming back.
That's
because
right.
people are finding out they were really good.
They're excellent tomatoes, and of course the heirloom tomatoes like the Cherokee Red, the purples.
Yes.
And there's a German
Johnson.
That's right. And those are just wonderful. I remember growing up, Rufus.
Yes.
My dad would have a big garden every year, and I never will forget the tomatoes and green beans, and there were always those things there. But my dad loved tomatoes so much and grew beautiful tomatoes. And he would go in the garden, and our family would actually can them, right? And you'd have different types of tomatoes for canning. But the thing that he said he enjoyed most is he'd stand right there, and he always kept a little pack of salt in his pocket, and he'd pull off one of those tomatoes, and he'd take a bite and put some salt on it, and he'd eat it just like it was a piece of fruit, of which it is, right? So that I remember that, and how pure and organic that experience was.
And the salt makes it.
Oh yeah, the salt helps.
Carl, right now, gardening is still the number one. They call it hobby, occupation in America today. Coming back more and more and more. People growing their own things. The little garden show that you know about that I've been on for 16 years called The Weekend Gardener.
How many, I'm not going to say nobody knows that because that wouldn't be true. Certainly people in the Raleigh market know because they hear you.
Yeah, it's not it's the Raleigh market.
How many people, when they hear that and you tell them, are they just like blown away? They're like, what? You do what?
First thing is, what? Your lifetime of being in government, politics, Watergate, gardening? I said, it's the most important thing in my life. It's my peace, my way to get. I was out this morning at around 6 o'clock, watering tomatoes, dusting some things. I want to keep. It's dust that won't kill all the bees now.
Right.
But that's a terrible thing we're having to face right now. We're killing pollinators by the millions and millions a day with all these pesticides.
Right, and that's a concern because without the pollinators, where come our fruits and vegetables?
You're not going to have any donut.
Yeah, we need our pollinators.
Yeah, but yeah, the big thing is you do a what show? Garden show.
Yeah.
And I'm no expert, but we have experts. I think it's what you TV guys would call color.
That's right.
A little local color.
Yeah. Well, you fit that.
And
you fit that.
I garden. I think I told you on the show one time. All I know about gardening is what my mama taught me.
Oh.
And my daddy and mama grew gardens, I think, to give it away was the main purpose. After we used all we could, Daddy would load the pickup up and go out the road, the dirt road, a few ears of corn here or there, baskets of beans here and there, just sharing.
And that fed him, didn't it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, that
Fed his soul.
Yeah, that's right. Feed you spiritually. That's something that, because my family did the same thing, and there was always a bounty. There was always plenty.
Right.
Not only for us, but for other people too. And that sharing was part of it. My goodness, a family gathering, everybody brought food, and yeah, it was because that was a way of giving, and not because it was needed. It was because the person preparing the dish, it fed them. It's good ice cream, isn't it? I tell you. I knew you were going to love it.
It's hard to get good butter pecan ice cream.
Right. Not at the smokehouse here in Wilkes County. That's pretty good stuff. So our conversation in Boone is one that I don't think I'll ever forget. And I've thought about it a lot because you talked about a moment in life that was difficult, but when you went to see your sweet mama,
Yes.
she helped give you a little clarity and some very simple instructions. And it was just such motherly advice and motherly love. I just, my heart is sad for people that don't have that.
Oh, I remember we were at the Daniel Boone Gardens filming, and that question came up. And I had mentioned to you that in my career I'd gotten in a little bit of difficulty and felt very bad about myself and just thought the world was coming to an end. I headed to the hills to see Mama.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife understood that. And I entered the house, and she said, "Son, it's been rough on you, hasn't it?" And then she patted me on the head and said, "Son, everything will be all right."
Yes.
Fixed me a good meal and assured me that I was still her favorite kid. Ha! You know, like we all say.
What a great thing.
And yes, I dearly miss her. And we all need a mama occasionally.
Yes.
And it can be any figure you want in the world. It can be a friend, an uncle, an aunt.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody
you-
with that positive influence.
Somebody that will forgive you for your transgressions and say that you're still relevant and that you still have a little likability about you and some character.
The story of family value has never changed, right? It's always there, having those people that care about us, and they're there for us, during the good times and the not so good times.
Well, you will find that successful people in life will always go back and say, number one, some teacher impressed them. And then, if it wasn't the teacher, they will refer to their family member always. And I feel very sorry for kids growing up today that don't have families.
Yeah.
That's got to be just a terrible way to try to grow up in a world where you're taught that you're maybe not as good as somebody else because you come from a different place or you have something different about you. And family becomes more and more important, I think, as you get older, too.
Oh, sure.
That's where I'm headed right now, my last remnants of my family in Boone.
Well,
that's why I'm going to Boone to be with these youngsters who are in their 50s.
Yes. That's great.
I want to be around some young people.
It's important when all of our old friends are passing to the next level.
It's like St. Irvin, you'd say, why'd they have to spoil youth by giving it to all the young people?
Well, you're going to see some young people from what you said on the drive when we were talking, on your drive when we were talking. I was directing you in to where we're at today, and you were talking about the outdoor drama up there. So they've invited you back up to say hi to the folks.
At least we didn't ruin it for them when you and I were there a year ago. And I'm going to help them open it up tomorrow night.
Oh, that's great.
Say a few brief words. I know how to be brief.
Brevity.
I've learned that.
Have the plants
KISS.
Have the plants taught you that?
KISS. Keep it short, stupid.
Yes. Wow. You know, it was great to see you. We caught up at your event you do for Super Kids. I think it's such a great program. Talking to those kids that are helped through that activity. That's a very impressive thing.
Yeah, I think you mentioned you want to do a little more on that.
I think it's worth it. I mean, just
it's going to come up again in October, and of course, last year you bought about half of the things we had for auction. Did you buy a trip? A trip
yes,
to the ocean?
I think so. I haven't been there yet because I haven't. It hadn't been the right time to travel.
No.
But I will. The lady was extremely nice. So yeah, I think I'll go. I don't like to go on the coast when it's hot though. No. I mean, it's that's just a little too much for me. But a lot of people love it. I have a lot of family and friends who absolutely love the beach in the hottest time of the year. But I prefer it in the fall and winter, which is good, when you're for availability. There's more time. But I like to, doing what you and I are doing now, and just, I don't even consider it carving out time. We're just spending a little time together, and we're not looking at the clock, and we're doing it because it feels right to do. It's good to catch up, and it's difficult when we rush that, when we're always pushing that in life. We're just always watching the clock, always got to rush and beat the traffic or beat whatever, and minimizing the time that we have celebrating life with other humans. Or cats or dogs, whatever it might be, right? We need that time.
I recall so many times that I've been interviewing people in my office, and they were asking me for help. And they were constantly looking at their watch. Or in one day, this one guy, his phone rang, and he said, "Hold on, I got to take a call." And when he finished, I said, I'm a little bit perturbed here. You're asking for my help on a matter, and your phone rang, and you said, "Hold on, I got to take a phone call." I said, you need to realize that's not a good way to come ask someone for help. And it gets back to what you said, is taking the time to pay attention to one another. I've learned so much from being around people like you, and you hear me often quote Senator Irvin. That's from just being around. We would drive down that road in that old 1972 Chrysler. I named it the Ship of Fools, swaying back and forth. Not a sound in the world, no cell phone, no nothing.
Right.
And he would tell me about all these stories about the Burke County characters in life that you couldn't make up.
Right, right.
That's real people.
With very dramatic lives.
And I saw your friend of mine, Mr. Warlick, again the other day.
Oh, how's he doing?
At a gathering. And he had this fantastic opening for his mother's.
Did you see that big statue?
He showed it to me. I didn't see it.
Right.
Were you there for
No, I didn't make it, but I saw the coverage of it.
Yes.
It was great. I knew he was so proud of that.
A tribute to the working women and men of America, and especially his mother.
That's right.
And who worked in the mills for years.
Yeah, and I think I thought when I heard that story, I said, this is fantastic tribute not just to his mom, but to everyone like her. And there were a lot of women that just did great things for, it's easy to say people do great things for our nation and our country and our county and our state. But first and above all, it's their family and their community. And if we think of it maybe in that context, if everybody helps the family be as rich and as strong as it can be, and then collectively the family is serving the community, wow, then everybody's enriched and feels great. I mean, is that too far out there?
No, it's not. I hope it's not, because I'm writing another book.
Another one?
And my theme is going to be empathy.
Empathy.
Thank those who helped you get where you are, and once you've done that, thank them again.
Right.
Having some sort of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And then I base that on my community of my home, church, and school, the triad of my life, of being at home learning, going to church, the Three Forks Baptist Church, in high school, that all made a community, big community that all weave together.
Yes.
And what I want to try to do in that book, Carl, is to show people that there can be civility in public life again.
Wow.
And the biggest problem I see today in America is how this incivility has crept over into every part of our lives, not only politically, but in churches, in schools, and anything you do, where if you have somebody who disagrees with you, you don't want to have a lot of folks nowadays don't want to have a good, honest to goodness disagreement session. They want to hate somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think hatred is just the most serious scourge in not only America, but in the world today, that pure hatred of somebody that you don't like or you disagree with.
That's a pretty heavy cross to bear, isn't it?
So I want to show some examples in this new book, and I came up on a title. I've decided I'm going to name it, title it, "I Finally Got Some Things Right."
And how long did it take you to do that?
82 years.
Wow. But it's never too late. How old was Colonel Sanders when he started selling chicken? Right?
Oh, he was in his 90s.
I don't know if he's that old, but still, yeah.
You think there's any use for a book like that to show some examples of civility and how we can all get together a little bit?
Let me ask you this: Does it feed your soul writing it?
Absolutely.
Then there's the value. If we can do, I look at stories that way, and if it feeds my soul, then I feel like there will be other people similar to me or not similar to me that it might feed their soul, and just give us a moment, to just relax and breathe and realize that people who are different, that's okay. They're just different,
I've often wondered what were some of your favorite stories in your storied career.
My goodness. There have been so many, but there was one I did with this lady named Vera. And Vera had Alzheimer's. And I met her family, and the Rotarians, which is a wonderful organization, they have a project they call CART, Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust, and they raise money. Right. They raise money by putting these blue buckets on the lunch tables of Rotarians all around the country. They put all that change together, and then every year they give that money to help in research. But it's the seed research that they're helping, because you need to get a little traction with an idea. And then if you get some positive momentum going with your research project, then you can get the bigger grants, right? And they've done millions and millions of dollars toward this cause. And when I first heard about the project, and thinking about how we could tell that story, because I interviewed researchers. I went to Emory University. I did, Eastern Carolina. This is of great researchers and doctors, brain people. And I thought, that's good, but I need to bring it to life with the person that's going through this. And I was introduced to this family, and Vera and her daughter, and the daughter had this choir that all the patients had Alzheimer's. And I went to that. I wanted to see that. I mean, these are people that were just sitting there or walked in. They sat down, in their seats to perform the choir.
Right.
And they weren't talking. Some of them couldn't talk. But the director would stand up, and then they could sing. It was just miraculous. It's like, it was like there are people with Alzheimer's, a lot of people with Alzheimer's, who are in that same situation. They can paint. They can make beautiful things. That part of the brain is the last thing to go. So remembering your name, I might forget that, but I'm going to remember how to sing, or I'm going to remember how to paint. And there was one person in the choir, and he had Alzheimer's, just sat there, very stoic. And he was a minister in his earlier days, and he was asked to stand and pray. And he stood up and gave the most eloquent prayer. You would have thought he was, it was a movie scene. I mean, it was just, it would make chills run through your bones just to feel it. Not in a bad way, but you're just like, wow, that's incredible. That's somebody with Alzheimer's. And I asked the question of a researcher. I said, why was that? He wasn't singing. He said, well, prayer lives in that same creative space where music and art lives. Prayer lives there as well. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. So we did the special. We had some screenings in theaters, and people would show up, and I got to travel a bit with Rotary and give, talks at their governor's conferences, which is their regional leaders. And it was fantastic. And then that special that aired on TV, then we made small pieces of it. It was used to tell that story, the CART story, to Rotarians around the world. And that to me was special, because as much as I had heard about Alzheimer's, and I think even having a family member that had Alzheimer's, it just wasn't called that. But after learning about it, I said, oh, that's what she had more than dementia. And the world opening up to where I saw that this is a massive, massive world of people that have Alzheimer's and dementia. It just was life-changing, because it was a sector of a very large growing sector of our public that we're talking about. And so that was, I guess, on a heavier side, or a bigger story, that would be it. But, Rufus, sure. I mean, I love the time that we spent together. I like the lawnmower race segment. I'd never been to a lawnmower race, and sure as heck hadn't been on a lawnmower that was geared to run really fast around a dirt track. But I did it right here in Wilkes County.
You showed me the clipping. I think it's the funniest. I did. Oh, the funniest thing coming and going.
Well, I learned not to take myself too serious about anything. I mean, I'm serious about let's tell a good story, but I don't know I really don't know what perfection is. I have no idea what perfect people are. Sometimes I have had people say, I can't believe you interviewed so-and-so. I says, well, why? Well, they're a blankety blank blank. And I was like, well, we weren't talking about those blankety blank blanks. We were talking about the other things, his charity and all the other things he does. That's what we're celebrating. A lot of people have blankety blank blanks, but who I honestly don't care about that. I really don't. I just care about, okay, where are we walking now? What are we doing now?
There's another thing about Senator Irvin told me about the pompous guy and always taking himself so seriously. So I said, well, Stop taking yourself so seriously. Nobody else does.
That's right. It really is that, isn't it, Rufus? I mean, people just don't care.
Right.
They don't care. And, there's a philosopher, what's his name? That had this idea that it just doesn't matter. None of it really matters. What matters is this moment, what we're doing right now, the mistakes of the past and the mistakes in the future. I hadn't even done those yet, so no need to worry about that. And the past, well, that's already done, so let's just be right here in this moment. And I don't know, maybe it makes the plants grow better. You're a gardener, does it?
Yeah, and a little talking.
Yeah, sure.
I don't ever laugh about that. People tell me about talking to plants. I have talked to many a gardenia. You sweet darling baby, you wonderful, gorgeous, voluptuous, magnificent person. I love you.
Yes, and then it would fulfill that, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah. That goes into world philosophies. Go way back thousands of years, and those ideas, they were all kind of part of the universe, and everything's got a thing. I don't believe we're a body that has a soul. I believe we're a soul that's in a body, because that's how we live on, right? That's our idea. That's our faith. That's the notion. Once the body's there, okay, what happens next? Well, we see what happens to it. So then we go on, our soul goes on. I don't know what all it gets to do, but we believe it's a thing of celebration.
Well, that's that part about having, in my book, about one of the successes in life is having some sort of spirituality. I don't care what kind. I don't care whether you're a Methodist, Baptist, Buddhist, or whatever. But if you don't have some notion that there's a higher power, you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah,
You got to be. How can you look at a flower? A little fawn that showed up in my garden the other day. I left the gate open inadvertently for 1 hour. And you've been to my place, you know.
Yeah. That's
3
right.
acres.
Right.
1 hour. This doe came in, unbeknownst to me.
Right.
Dropped a little baby, and I was back on. This was apparently Saturday. This past Sunday, I went out to water, and I was startled by this little tiny freckle thing.
Yeah.
I looked. It was a fawn. Well, I knew immediately. Leave it alone.
That's right. Don't touch it.
Mama will be back.
That's right.
And I had to leave the gate open. Of course, I was afraid the whole herd would come.
Right.
And I wouldn't have a thing left.
There go your gardenias.
Mama came sometime Sunday night and took the sweet baby away.
Oh, thank goodness.
Now,
That's great.
ate a few hydrangea before she left. They must love hydrangea blooms.
They do. They do. I've had that experience too this year. They ate all of the. I mean, all of them. Well, we have herds of deer, so there's no big fence around the land, so they're just everywhere. They're pleasant to look at. 3 of them, Rufus, we had a talk. I looked them straight in the eye and I said, "Look, no, they're not afraid of anything because they're not harmed. No, we're not shooting them." And I said, "Look, you got all that land over there for you." Big tall grass, pretty green trees, everything you want. And you come over here to the manicured side, where the short grass is, not nearly as much to eat.
Yeah.
And you signal out, the heirloom tomatoes. And then you signal out the plants that you're not even supposed to eat. And it says you don't eat that. You're resistant. But it would have lasted for 3 or 4 days, and they were right back.
Yeah.
I don't speak deer well, evidently.
My success is that my neighbor feeds them corn every day, and they bypass.
Right.
They don't need anything in my garden.
Oh, that's perfect.
Because that 10-foot fence I've got, if they wanted over that thing, would mean nothing.
That's right. Yeah, I've come to believe that we may have a combination of deer and reindeer that fly.
Yeah.
Oh, but what a wonderful thing. I mean, you have to express gratitude to that neighbor, the one who feeds the deer and takes them away from your property. That's great.
Love her.
Yeah, that's great. Rufus, this has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Such a
Just the drop-in. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Now I'll be on my way
Yes.
to Boone.
Off to Boone. And tomorrow night, right, you're opening the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll sit through the whole thing.
Horn in the
because
West.
I have when you and I were there last year, or maybe 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. I think.
We didn't have time. We were busy doing other things. And I'm going to be happy to sit through the whole thing.
That's right.
And remember when I was in high school, my senior year, I was both a redcoat and an Indian. And I dropped my G-string, my breechcloth.
Oh,
Thank
no.
goodness it was dark.
Oh, my goodness.
I still get very embarrassed about that night.
Yeah. Well, whatever you do tomorrow
I
night.
don't think my brother kidded me for years because he was a big hot shot in the show.
Right.
And I was just a mere Indian jumping around. And that breechcloth just came right off. I didn't have it on there firmly and had nothing under it.
So you were in the play
Yes.
before you became involved with the Historic Society. What's the group called? You were part of it. I saw you.
Southern Appalachian Historical Association.
That's exactly right. So you were, as a young boy, you were in the play.
I was actually in the Horn of the West, yes.
And then when you grew up a little bit, then you actually were on the board.
Yeah, I became president, yes, at one time.
Yeah. And I know that because I saw you in a program that Ken Welburn brought a program by and says, Carl, but you don't have one of these. And then we're flipping through it, and there you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kid.
Yeah, that's it. He's gonna regret missing.
Thanks for the ice cream,
You're welcome, friend. I
for
hope
the
you like the peaches.
donut. May I take one of those with me?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna. I'm gonna get a little brown paper bag and put 3 in for you. Okay.
Oh, that's generous.
It is. That's kind of.
And the coat, really.
Yeah. You'll enjoy that, my friend. Good to see you, Rufus.
Thank you for spending time with us on Life in Wilkes. We value you as a viewer and appreciate when you share the show with your friends and family. Be sure to bookmark our channel and join us again on the next episode of Life in Wilkes.